setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
Welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. It's Saturday morning, beautiful day here in Palm Beach, Florida. Just got back from the ocean, had breakfast down there. Beautiful, beautiful big waves coming. Kind of reminds me of California. Nice and cool, not very hot. Beautiful day. Listen, our conversation today is going to be about common sense and how Americans are not using it. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
I have come to the conclusion almost that most Americans have lost the ability to use common sense in their thinking process. Instead, what they do is they usually follow what somebody else says, or they read what somebody has said, and that becomes their talking point. No common sense thinking goes on in their mind to say, wait a minute, let's stop a little bit and think about this. One of the issues is that what I've noticed, especially during the height of the political season, which is starting right now, which I hate more than anything else, but bloggers come out by the handful. And everybody begins to follow these bloggers and thinking that what they're saying is the actual truth. And in fact, what they're just doing is just saying what their opinion is or how they believe. Nothing is written there based on fact or anything else. It's just nonsense. So people start posting this all over the place, and most of it, 98% of it, is untrue. That is a big problem in America, where we begin to not use our common sense and start thinking the process through and what people are saying, but instead we follow the people that we feel believe how we feel, or what our emotional state of mind is at that moment, or what our hate pattern is showing at that moment. But that's what's going on, and it happens every single day. You see all these bloggers come out, and you see on Facebook and Instagram and all these places, they post these blogs thinking that it's God's truth, and it's nothing but nonsense. So, we're not using our common sense. Think the process through. Think what is being said. Think what is being written. Look at all of the advertisement spots on that page. That's because they've got to fill that page with something so they can keep up their advertising revenue. Bloggers get advertising revenue. Not very much, but they get it. Let's use a little bit of common sense, okay? Because if you're listening to the newspapers, if you're listening to what's happening of statements that's coming out of Congress or the president's office or the governor's office or your local township office or whatever, it's usually never the truth. So you have to dig some of this out yourself. When they quote a statement, look to see where they're getting that statement from. Look to see where they're getting their numbers from to see if it even jives. Most of the time, it doesn't even jive. So common sense means that we have to use some of our brain power to think things through. Common sense, logical, looking at it with an open mind, and thinking about other issues that could be affecting whatever that statement was or whatever that blogger was saying. But bloggers are the worst to get any kind of news from, because most of them are just pinning, or they are posting, or they're writing what their personal political views are. Not what the nation is saying, nothing based on fact, nothing based on data. It's just nonsense. And I keep giving this same lecture over and over every single campaign season of how you should not be focused on a blogger's statement. It's not news. It's just an opinion. And that's where we've gotten ourselves into so much trouble, is because now even on the television networks, people do not give the news. What they give is their opinion, how they personally believe, what their personal political agenda is. And that's what bloggers do too. They put up their own political agenda. So I really want you to think about the common sense aspect of this whole campaign. The other issue that I'm seeing lately is Americans have gotten so caught up in the hate mode that they've forgotten how to use common sense, especially when it comes to what's happening in Washington, D.C. and in many states lately. People are not using common sense. Instead, what they're doing, they're going with a political line. Now, we know that Congress is not trustworthy. We know individuals in the Senate is not trustworthy. What comes out of the White House sometimes is not trustworthy. Because each one of those institutions has a political agenda. And that's one of the biggest problems, is that we as Americans have not used our common sense and looked at Congress to see exactly what have they done for America. So what we have is Democrats trying to impeach the president, Republicans trying to defend the president, and then we have all of these so-called whistleblowers all over the place who are not really whistleblowers. And we have all of this information and misinformation and lies being thrown at us every single day. So if we use a little bit of our common sense and we saw, okay, well, the Mueller report came out. No crimes were done by the president. No high treason, no high crimes and misdemeanors. Nothing was done by the president or his staff. So that was shot to hell. So common sense, we should say, okay, that basically is closed. It's closed. It's done with. So out pops this Ukraine thing, which is becoming such a disgusting mess, that we as Americans are not using our common sense to listen to the words of these politicians and the deception that they're trying to get to us and give to us and try to sway us. Because you know why? It's because it's an election year. We're coming up on this election year. So each side wants as much dirt as they possibly can get out there. Politics is dirty. Many times I say, gosh, I would like to follow in my family's footsteps, because a lot of them were politicians. A lot of them served presidents. A lot of them served as ambassadors and senators and members of Congress, if you go back into the history of the Lodge family. But what I've seen, and when I went into college, in high school, I said, you know what? I want to become a politician. I want to go out there and do some good. But I don't think as a politician now you can do any good. Because nothing good is coming out of Congress. Nothing. Zero. Zilcho. Think about this. Congress should have been focusing on our infrastructure. Look at North Carolina. They had to tell some of their citizens in certain towns, hey, don't do any wash for 5 days, because we have to work on our infrastructure. We have to work on our piping system. Now, how much hassle do you think that is to a community when their water system is not clean or it's not up to par? And they can't use it to wash their clothes, or they can't do anything because the infrastructure is so worn out. It's old. Most of the infrastructure that's under the ground, that's servicing our sewers and our fresh water and gas and electric, are so out of date and so old. Some of them are older than me, and they haven't been replaced. Los Angeles has old piping systems that keeps breaking and popping up, and bubbles of water and geysers come out because their infrastructure of pipes and systems underneath the ground are worn out. Now, this is part of Congress's job. Not just the state that these things happen in, but also the federal government's job, because the money that is taken in from the federal gas taxes is to pay for our roads and our infrastructure. But it gets eaten away by Congress using it for other things, or government using it for other things. So when we see that the Congress is not working, let's use some common sense. Something has gone wrong in our nation's capital, where politics and hate have taken over the needs of the American people, you and me. And so we have a nation that is out of control. We have states and sanctuary cities that are out of control. I think that if we as Americans do anything else and start thinking with our head instead of our political thought, and begin seeing that nothing is getting done for the American people, we have a dysfunctional, worthless Congress and Senate. I think dog catchers have a higher popularity than Congress. I think the devil might even have a higher popularity than Congress. That's how bad Congress is. But we as Americans, we sit back and we do nothing. And the only way that we can get this Congress to do anything is to start letting our voices be heard in various manners, through podcasts like this, through letters, through emails, through faxes, whatever it takes to get your message to members of Congress to do their job. You have to do it. You just have to do it. We are Americans, and we believe in our nation. We believe in our democracy, in our republic. But we do not believe in letting people sit there collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and becoming very rich in government. Common sense is not being used by you and me. Let's get off this track of hate. Let's get off this track of trying to impeach somebody when our nation has so much work to get done. Look at the homeless situation that we have. What really bothers me the most is that a study was done out of the University of Chicago that said 700,000 children are homeless every day in America. 700,000 children are homeless every day in America, but yet Congress is so more focused on impeaching a president. We have roads that are crumbling. We have infrastructure underneath the roads that are crumbling. We have laws that are so out of date. We have so many things that need to get done within the United States, but nothing gets done. Common sense tells us if our Congress people are not working for us, it's time that they get out of office. It's time that they be removed. If they are going to push hate and violence and treason and whatever else is out there, they're going to push that narrative throughout 4 years of a president's life in office and not do anything for the American people, then it's worthless. Why even have Congress if nothing gets done? You and I might as well meet over coffee and we can probably get something done. So maybe that's what Americans need to do. We need to start meeting more and more, having our own judges, having our own auditors to go into government and say, listen, we don't like what you're doing, so we as the American people are going to tell you, and we're going to examine it, and if we find something that we don't like, you're gone. That's how you feel, right? If it was a normal business out there, you and I that own businesses, if we find somebody who is not producing, who is not doing the tasks that we assign them to, they're gone. And that's where we stand at the moment with our Congress. It's time to tell them that they're gone. It's worthless. Well, what can you do? The other issue is that this is on the personal basis now. Common sense has got to be done in our lives, in how we live our lives, and how we run our personal finances. Let me tell you, if you are going into debt and spending your money, and if it's going out greater than what you actually make in a year, you're not using your common sense. You're not even using your noggin. You're not using anything except gluttony because you want more and more and more. And you're willing to go in debt for it. Sometimes I tell you, I hate the FICO score. Because what do they measure your success on? How much debt you've had. Not how much money do you have, or how much money you've made, or how successful you've been in your business. They don't measure you on that. They measure you on your debt, and debt is evil. So you guys are not using your common sense, and sometimes I don't either. But you're going out and buying those Louis Vuittons when really all you can afford is JCPenney. Is JCPenney even still alive? I don't know. But you get the point. We're not using our common sense, and we're not being good stewards of our money. Every single one of you, in October, starting right now, you should be sitting down and planning for 2020. 2020 is coming, and you should sit down and put together your budget for next year. Look at how much money's coming in, and look at how much money's going out. And start making some adjustments. That's what you need to do. Use some common sense and put together a budget. Put together a plan for 2020. You have October, November, and December to make it, to go through everything and make sure you've caught everything and what you can do for 2020. Look at 2019 and see where you've been. And then go to 2020 to see what you need to do to start saving money. A lot of you don't have emergency funds. A lot of you don't have an account or money that's available. So what do? You use your credit card. Credit card is debt. No credit card ever made you rich and never will. Debt will not make you rich. So you understand what I'm saying throughout this whole monologue, throughout this whole session with you today, is that we as Americans are not using our common sense. And if we don't start doing it personally, how do we expect our government to do it? If we don't take control of our own personal financial lives, our goals and our objectives and our families and our friends, if we don't start planning, how do you ever expect the government to do it? If you're not doing it, the government's not going to do it. Which is kind of sad. So if you don't start taking possession of what you're responsible for, you have nothing to talk about to the government and tell them, hey, you're doing wrong. Every single day they mount up more and more debt. Debt keeps going up in the U.S. government. money keeps being spent on stupid things, on stupid projects. Common sense is not being used. We have failed at thinking things through. Instead, we go on emotional tangents, we go on political tangents, we go on all these other different things, but we never think things through to see what is right and what is wrong. That's all that we have to worry about. What is right and what is wrong. What is political is nothing but crap. If you're going to use a political argument, it's crap. Use a common sense argument that says this is the way it should be done because it's right. And if we do it this way, it's going to be wrong. I wrote a book last summer, called Ethically Thinking, It's Not That Difficult. And it's not that difficult for us to stop and start thinking about what is right and wrong, using our common sense factors that is in all of us, but we never use it because we're so hung up on our political or emotional issues. So as Americans, we have the ability to do a lot of changes. America can become much better than what it is now. It doesn't just take a president to lead, but it takes a Congress to act, think about the needs of the American people, and then it takes Americans to make sure that we put the right people in office to get things done. Remember, your personal opinion on politics is not what many of the other people think. And if you're unwilling to sit down with other people and communicate and to talk it through, we're never going to get to a point where we get a resolution to what our needs really are. I do a lot of mediation. And the most important thing that I have to go through is getting two parties together with all this emotional rage built up and getting to a place where they both can agree on it and come to a resolution to the problem. And I think perhaps that's what has to happen in government. And I volunteer my time if I have to. Maybe we need a mediator between Congress and the Senate and the President. Maybe it's time that we start mediating out a lot of these issues so that we can get to a resolution and get things done. Sigh. I have a big sigh. So the point is, common sense gets a lot of things done. But if you're going to play politics, nothing will get done. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. If you have any questions, comments, send a text to me at 818-252-5682. 818-252-5682, and I'll respond to you. Go on to Amazon.com and look for the book Ethically Thinking. It's Not That Hard by Michael Lodge. It's a good read. Take some time. Everybody go out and have a great day. Talk with you soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.